Hi and welcome to another of the DTA screencasts. The subject that we're going to be looking at today is physical activity. So hopefully by the end of this session you'll be able to identify physical activity, what the term actually means, understand the different characteristics and examples of physical activity, and also what the benefits are of taking part in physical activity. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So if I was to say to you, think of as many examples of physical activity as you could, I imagine you've maybe come up with something like swimming, football, tennis, but then maybe something like aerobics, walking, jogging and outdoor activity. But out of these ones, which ones would you say are sports? So hopefully you would identify swimming, football and tennis. But the others are also physical activity, so we need to try and establish what the characteristics are of the different examples that you can use for physical activity. So in essence, when we're looking at a definition of physical activity, the way that we always try and remember it is through this picture and also this. It's the umbrella term. It covers all aspects of physical activity, and it is also anything that gets the body moving. So by that we're looking at, as it's got here, play, recreation, physical education, outdoor education, sports, to the whole spectrum. And how each one of those is defined is usually, as it says at the top there and at the bottom, is by the level of organisation. So if you think about physical education and outdoor education, would you say that they're relatively organised? Hopefully you would probably presume that they are and work out that they are, because you need to have structured time, structured place, maybe specialist equipment, especially for outdoor education. But if you're looking at things like play, well, play can be anything. Play could be just running around the field, a game of tag, a game of football could be considered to be play. So both of these are still physical activity because they're something that gets the body moving, which is our definition. But because of the level of organisation, they're very different. Same principally with sport. The level of organisation between sport and play are very different, and also physical recreation and outdoor recreation. And these are the areas that we actually need to cover within this, the spec. So you need to be able to identify what the characteristics are of outdoor rec, physical rec, play, sport, education, physical and outdoor education. So what we're going to do here is, just for a couple of the slides, we're going to look at the characteristics of a few of those examples that we've already identified, and then I'm going to leave you to work out some of the others. So if you look at each one of these images, could you turn around and say that that's physical recreation? Well, because it's swimming, but does it look that organised? Not necessarily. You could say jogging or walking on the beach, cycling and football. So you could easily say that these are recreation. And let's have a look at the characteristics. So participants don't have to have a very high standard. It's not about the winning, it's about the taking part, and it's done for its own sake and done for enjoyment. So if you look back at each one of the images, you can see that it's not massively organised. You can tell that by the lack of uniforms in the football. So here, or here, you can tell that this isn't relatively competitive. Same principle applies from this one here. This is people hopefully just having fun. It's not massively organised. Therefore, we can say that these activities are physical recreation. Some of the benefits behind the physical recreation are the physical, mental, social aspects of stress relief, meeting people and enjoyment. And we'll look at the physical, mental and social in a lot more detail in our next screencast. So moving on then, let's have a look at sport. Now we had football in our previous slide and swimming. So the difference between these two and the previous ones is the level of organisation, or the level of competitiveness. As you can see in the swimming one, that looks like somebody who's going to be relatively competitive. But in the top slide here, you can see it's got strip, so for each one of the sides in the designated strips. There are significant lines painted on the pitch, subs bench. Just from this small image, you could probably turn around and say that that's a well organised game. And for this one down here, you can identify this as an Australian side, New Zealand side, so it's national, and again you could argue that it's relatively organised. So there in this essence is what sport is about, is the competitive element, as you can see the effort that's been made in this bottom slide here, and also the level of organisation. Other things as well, we need to have a level of skill, commitment, and also a sense of fair play. So we'll just have a look at one more then. For this one here, we're talking about outdoor recreation, and this one's done for a few reasons. Same principle behind physical recreation is for enjoyment. There's a lack of organisation, but there are certain benefits that we can gain from this, and as you can see from the bottom of the slide here is an appreciation of the natural environment. Beautiful, stunning rural outside, sensory appreciation, simplicity of being back to nature, and that essence of self-expression. And some people would argue you get some sort of spiritual inner feelings and thoughts. Okay. Other characteristics of outdoor recreation: code of etiquette and fun that we've already looked at. And other benefits are adventure, this sense of risk, an element of self-reliance. And you're always looking for sporting examples with these. So the thrill and sense of adventure, you would then say, for example, skiing, or for example, rock climbing, for example, Duke of Edinburgh, something like that. Those are nice, simple examples. Alright, so what I would like you to do then is to have a look at the other areas, physical education and outdoor education, and see if you can identify the characteristics and benefits of taking part in the two types of physical activity above. Alright, so we're going to move on to the last little section within this screencast, and it's the benefits of physical activity. As I mentioned before, we were going to look at these. So there is the physical, mental, personal and social, and what the examiners identify as the four characteristics behind each one of these are reduction in coronary heart disease, blood pressure, contributes to a longer life, mental one, sense of worth and that confidence, self-esteem, socially meeting new people, gaining a feeling of belonging, and personal with self-control and self-esteem. So for each one of these, again, you've got to identify a physical activity example. So where within physical activity would these actually take place? So try and think of an example that you could use for each one of those, making sure that you link it, as I said, to a practical example. So these benefits are all leading towards a healthy, balanced lifestyle, which is what we're trying to aim for. And in essence, what it is this balance between health, work, active and non-active aspects of your life. So can you think of anyone that doesn't have a balanced and active, healthy lifestyle? All right, we've got an example of someone here who's clearly taken a quite relaxed approach to a balanced and active, healthy lifestyle. But as a counterpoint, rest is part of a healthy, balanced lifestyle. However, this guy may have been taking it to the extreme. So what things would potentially stop you from taking part in a balanced, active, healthy lifestyle? There's money, the equipment or the travelling time that you need, time in itself, or again, equipment there. This is self-esteem and potentially role models. So if these things aren't in place, or if you have poor role models, then you may not take part. And these can be categorized into three different areas, which are opportunity, provision and esteem. We'll be looking at those in our next DTA screencast. So that's the end of part 1. Hopefully what you've got are those three main aspects, and I'll speak to you next time.